Can citizens spot the red flags in public procurement and help the government protect our taxes? Yes, they can. And here are 6 to watch for. Direct contracting. When contracts are frequently awarded to one supplier without other companies competing to offer a better price and quality, we usually end up paying more and getting less. Contract splintering. Big projects need big money and higher level approvals. But if the contract is cut up into smaller ones, it won't need external approval from offices like the Public Procurement Commission or Cabinet. This makes it easier for contracts to avoid additional scrutiny. Timing of advertisements. Contracts advertised during distracting periods like the holidays can result in less competition and a really strong advantage for the favored company. Like Christmas time, work slows down and companies are less attentive to business opportunities. Emergency contracting. Claiming emergencies allows officials to legally bypass normal procurement rules, making it easier to award contracts to favored companies. Contract timing. Contracts awarded just before or after election can be payback for campaign support and not based on what Jamaicans really need. Collusion. And what if penalties are not enforced when work is poorly done? This could be a contractor and public official working together for private benefit. And if it is, this is collusion. These flags do not prove corruption, but they trigger questions that citizens must ask. So mind your business, Jamaica. Visit the JAMP Procurement Tracker to monitor government contracts. If you spot these flags, use our ATI tool to ask questions and demand accountability.
We want a piece for Jamaica. Yo, what are you? Oh, man, none of that. No, brother, no, mash up that, man.
You see you ever play rest? Dirty game,
yeah,
man,
but
please.
it's a bad game. No, I said, place when you come from, brother, I want to live good, man. I want to live good, Bridging. No shake on, I can play a little ball, Bridging.
Really have to shake on?
Yeah, man, and no badness, Bridging. Just live good, man. Come together, and make the violence done.
The following is brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
To fight crime and violence in your country, your government has invested over $9.7 billion into national security systems. This includes the construction and renovation of dozens of police stations, the acquisition of critical security equipment such as patrol vessels and police vehicles, the recruitment and training of more police officers, and the build-out of the Jamaica Defence Force. Your government is investing in your safety. We are building Jamaica.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister. The following is brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Jamaica is changing right before our very eyes. Across the island, billions are being invested into our road networks, from farm and community roads to major roads and highways. Dozens of communities across the length and breadth of Jamaica are receiving access to reliable potable water for the very first time. And thousands of Jamaicans have become homeowners thanks to the historic shifts in policies of the National Housing Trust, making it easier for Jamaicans to receive funding. Not to mention the record number of houses being built. Never dreamed you would own a home? No matter your circumstance, home ownership is possible for you, thanks to the government's new social housing program specially designed to meet the needs of poor Jamaicans at no cost to them. We are building Jamaica.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Motorists, certificates of fitness are now digital. Here's how it works. First, make your payment at TAJ inline or online. Then, take your receipt along with your vehicle to an Island Traffic Authority service hub for physical inspection. A valid email address is required to receive your digital fitness. Once the inspection is complete, your certificate number will be sent directly to your email. To access your digital certificate, visit cgds.gov.jm/fitness, enter your certificate number and the chassis number, and view your certificate online. New validity periods are here. New vehicles, 5 years. Vehicles 10 years or less, 3 years. And those older than 10, 1 year. No more paper certificates. Just secure, digital access, anytime, anywhere. For more information, connect with us via email at info@ita.gov.jm or on social media at Island Traffic Authority.
Do you wish there were a way your community could get funding to improve a school, health center, sports program, and more? There is! It's the Constituency Development Fund. Here are a few things you probably didn't know about the CDF and how you can make it work better for you. The CDF policy promotes citizen participation in community development and the protection of taxpayers' funds. It all
Thank you, Madam Chair. Almighty God, we gather today as servants of the people, mindful of the trust placed in us. We ask for your divine wisdom to guide our deliberations. Grant us a spirit of humility so that we may listen with open hearts and speak with honesty. Help us to set aside all personal ambition and partisan interests, that we may focus solely on the well-being of those we represent. We commit this meeting and its outcomes into your hands. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So, as I said, good morning again. This meeting is of the Internal and External Affairs Committee. Good morning, Doctor. Do we have any apologies for absence?
I don't know, it will be treated. MP Jess will no longer be on the committee, but in a motion this afternoon, her replacement will be moved, hence she's not there. So I'll take an apology for her absence because of that.
Okay, noted. Any other apologies? I think Member Alain de Terlong did say that he may be late. Okay. All right. So again, as I mentioned, this is a meeting of the Internal External Affairs Committee, and this is our first meeting. And today will just be procedural matters that will be discussed in this meeting. And just to give an overview of what the Internal External Affairs Committee, what we're going to be taking on. And so let me just explain. The Internal and External Affairs Committee shall have the duty of examining all matters relating to foreign policy of the government and also analyzing the implications and likely effects thereof on Jamaica. This committee will also examine treaties and other international agreements and advising the Parliament of their likely impact on Jamaica. The committee will also examine matters relating to national security and the administration of justice and making recommendations to the Parliament. The role of the chairperson, that would be me, and my role really, members, is just to maintain order. And I think I do a pretty good job. I do a pretty good job of that, so we shouldn't have any issues. Let me also mention what the responsibility for order in the House of this committee will entail. So the chairperson of any committee shall be responsible for the observance of the rules of order in the House and committee respectively, and their decisions upon any point of order shall not be open to appeal and shall not be reviewed by the House except upon a substantive motion made after notice. The chairperson, which is me, of course, is also, I should be counted. So if we have anything in the committee to rectify, the chairperson is to be counted in the quorum of the committee as per the Standing Order 77.5. And the chairperson may also not be able to vote except in the circumstances specified in Standing Order 44.2. I also want to point out the rules of order for the committees. The rules of order that relates to the committee in particular are found in Standing Order 77, And 2 of these related specifically to the role of the chairperson. The Standing Order 77-4 forbids a committee to delegate any of its functions to the chairperson, while Standing Order 77-8 empowers the chairperson to schedule the committee's first meeting, which is what we're having, and to also fix the date for subsequent meeting where this decision has not been made by the committee. The Standing Order 77 appears below in its entirety. Do we distribute those, or it's in the Standing Order book, so you'll be able to look at that. Today's agenda for the first meeting is usually, as I mentioned, strictly procedural matters, and subsequent agenda items are decided by the committee in keeping with Standing Order 77-4, which is above. Did you have something to state, Member Jackson?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. Just further to the remarks you made regarding the guidelines and the stipulations in the Standing Order, I would just want to posit that as a committee of the House that deal with subject areas, one of our remit, of course, we act on behalf of the full House in exploration of these subjects which we believe, the committee believes is of national import from time to time. What I'll hope for is that we pursue these issues as a committee. In the past, quite frankly, and I've been here a little while, people usually wonder which side who belong to because of how it operates in a homogeneous way. I would like that to be preserved. I must say I've seen a bit of deterioration in recent years, and it caused the committee to be as effective as it ought to be. One of collaboration, one as against one of, of an adversarial nature. I give you the undertaking that we'll endeavor to do that, and I really hope that together we will pursue that so that we can speak as one voice when we make recommendations, for example. And there might be that hopefully odd case of strong difference and probably policy perspective. And in that case, of course, minority report might become necessary. Because even when you have a minority report, it's not that everything covered by the committee and that subject. There's a variance. We quite converge on some things, but we don't converge on 1 or 2 items, and the minority report will reflect that. But by and large, we want to see it as one homogeneous body and the subjects which are of national importance to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Jackson. I want to also make it very clear that as the chairperson for this committee, I think I agree with you. I think it's very important. The matters that we will discuss in the chamber is of national importance, and I believe that we should, in one accord, come together to find a common ground to be able to discuss matters of national importance and not be divisive. So in everything that you have said, I am in agreement with you. Okay, so again, as I said, today will strictly be procedural, so we can get out of here. In keeping with the mandate of the Standing Order 73B, the committee is also required to examine treaties and international international agreements, as well as matters relating to foreign policy, matters that's relating to national security and the administration of justice. In addition, the Standing Order 77-3 also empowers this committee to send for persons, papers, send for records, Procedural matters may also include discussions regarding the following issues. And let me lay those out. Number one, the topics to be examined by the committee. Number two, the schedule of meetings for considering those topics. Number three, whether personnel from any government entities, entity or entities are to be invited to the committee meetings. The persons of entities with subject matter expertise that are directly invited to make submissions in writing to the committee, and the timeline for receiving their submissions. Whether to invite submissions in writing from the general public on the topic and the deadline for same. And lastly, whether the committee will invite oral submissions from persons who have sent papers to them. And so this is just laying out really what the internal, external committee, what this committee will be undertaking. And let me see if there's anything else. Do I want to mention the reporting procedure? Lastly, the committee will also usually finalize its deliberations on a motion or any other matter by submitting a report to the Parliament, all right? And Standing Order 80 sets out the procedure for reporting, and Standing Order 81 provides that a select committee must make a report to the House on the matters referred to it within the session in which it was appointed. And I think this is important for us to also be clear on. And so now that I've laid out I don't know if we have any questions, laid out the procedural matters, I can now move on to, possibly topics to be discussed. And we want to maybe understand how frequent our meeting should be held. Should it be every 2 weeks, once a month, especially for such a committee, internal, external affairs, and what we will be discussing, if we have any thoughts on that from the committee members. So I will now open the floor for anybody who I see. Well, you can turn on your mic. Go ahead, Doctor.
It's more for clarification, and thank you, Chair. The point you made in your opening remarks about the fact that this is our first meeting, I am seeking clarification as to why we hadn't met previously, and how do we ensure that that doesn't become the norm, that what we agree on today in terms of frequency, etc., is maintained.
Thank you for that. Well, I was really trying once, knowing that I was a chairperson for this, it was really, I would say on my part, why we did not have a meeting prior. But we wanted to make sure that going forward, we have regular meetings set up. So again, because we had so many different committee meetings and commitments on my part, it was the reason why we're just now having our first meeting. But again, we're starting off on the right foot today, and I think that we will continue with that trend going forward. Member?
Thank you very much, Madam. Good morning to all. I just want to understand, are we a reactive or a proactive committee? Meaning, are we waiting on matters to come directly from Parliament, or do we take matters as we see them to discuss? And if so, because what you don't want to do, what we want to do is to set a framework of how we will meet and when we will meet. But if we don't have a matter of importance to discuss, then it don't necessarily mean that we have to. And hence the reason I ask, are we reactive or proactive in the sense of the situation as is?
Thank you, Member. I guess to answer your questions, the Internal and External Affairs Committee is really to meet on matters of importance, of national importance. And so if you feel, the members feel that there's something of national importance to be discussed in national security or foreign affairs, I think, or things that's happening internally in Jamaica, I think that is when we're really supposed to meet. And so the frequency of the meeting will decide, right? That is how we can decide. And so I think that's why I mentioned, is it every 2 weeks? It depends on what's happening, or do we meet once a month, or do we set out, if something is taking place that needs to be discussed, that we then decide to call a meeting to order.
No, I think that this is an important point, because when you look at what the standing order provides for, as you said, foreign policy, treaties and other international agreements, national security and the administration of justice, I would argue that there's always something that we should be looking at. And so if we're a proactive committee, we should set an agenda that would require us to be holding these things constantly under our review and discussion, in order that we can inform the direction of the Parliament. So that's my thinking on that.
Member Clark, or Member Jackson, did you want to also chime in?
In the main, I concur together with the point made by Dr. Russell. And that's good. No, you want contention.
Member Clark?
Thank you very much. So therefore, we know that there are 2 meeting dates, Tuesdays and Wednesdays. We need to say to ourselves, well, the schedule listing that is available from Parliament will tell us a space, because then we have to give priority to at least 2 main committees. So we will now have to seek henceforth the timing, whether we want to take it. Is it that we are a committee that is going to take 2 hours, or we can take 1 hour? And so we could move for a 12 o'clock slot as against a 10 o'clock slot, giving us the privilege to have our meeting as often as we want to. Or are we saying that we'll go for a Wednesday meeting, which should give us more lateral in meeting and the time space? So we can decide from now how long our meetings should be, so that we know the time slot. Because as you are well aware, that we are already strapped for the space within the 2 days, because our members will find it a little bit difficult, especially those who are coming from out of town, to be here on a Thursday for a 1 hour or 2 hour meeting.
Thank you for that. I'm in agreement with everyone, with all that was said. What we need to look at, I think the PAC and the PAAC, those meetings tend to really go on for longer hours than, say, the CDF meeting. So I think possibly a 12 o'clock spot on the days where the PAC or the PAC that they're not meeting. I think we should possibly look at a slot like that will take us an hour, possibly, or an hour and a half. I'm also in agreement with Dr. Russell and Member Russell and Jackson, stating that we should be either proactive, it can be both, because things are always happening, or we may feel that as a committee there's something that we need to look at that is of national importance, whether it's national security or foreign affairs, that we need to look at as a committee, as a country, to make recommendations. And so I think it can be both, and a slot, maybe a 12 o'clock slot, would possibly work for us as a committee, work better, because I believe the CDF normally meets about 10 in the morning, and that usually doesn't take as long, and we can be after a meeting like that. Member Jackson?
Madam Chair, it's becoming a recurring decimal about the meeting times or meeting days we have. Regrettably, what has happened is a significant reduction in the meeting times of committees. There is a limitation in here, but some committees at times meet in the bigger, which is the government conference room, depending on the nature of the meeting. When you have to invite members of the public, for example, to come and make presentations, probably here would be more appropriate. But importantly, what we ought to pursue, and it was raised in another committee, to look at off-site meetings, which are permissible with leave from the House. For example, the Economy and Production Committee, meet outside even of Kingston, outside of the precincts of Parliament. Those can be done. We must make up our mind if we're going to take the committee work seriously. And bear in mind, Chairman, one of the big differences between the committees and the sittings of House, it allows for, ought to allow, for greater in-depth probing of issues than what can take place in a sitting of the House. So these one-hour meetings, we don't want to meet for the purpose of meeting. We really want to explore the issues, allow for input from other, because, you know, those of us who make up the committee is not the repository of all wisdom. We have to get them from the government agencies, stakeholder groups outside of government, to better inform the recommendations that we, who are acting on behalf of the full House, will make to that full House from time to time. So, in summary, what I'm suggesting is that we give serious consideration, speak to the leader of government business, the clerk of the House, to arrange even possible. We used to meet down at Conference Center sometime. We used to meet next door here when it was, well, you see, I'm always in search of knowledge and information. So I excuse my appetite for that, or predisposition. So I just really want to say, don't restrict ourselves. This 1 hour meeting on a subject that you might need a full 3 hours. You know, don't close the door on those things.
Noted, Member Jackson. I believe Member Smith.
Hi, Chairman. Morning. I hear the comments coming from different members of the committee about the frequency of meetings and the duration of meetings. And this meeting is for procedural matters. We don't yet have even one matter on the agenda. So how can we now be discussing the possibility of off-site meeting? We don't reach there yet. We're open to everything. The chairman was very clear that she will make herself available for meetings as frequent as it has to be or ought to be or needs to be. But I don't think we reach where Member Jackson is carrying us just yet. Let us at least have some, let us just have some items on the agenda, right? Then we can decide on the frequency of meetings. But as of now, we have absolutely nothing on the agenda. You know what I mean? So as I think we're going too far, too soon. We're not there yet. I know you want to meet frequently. I figure you have a lot more free time than other persons. But we will meet when things become available. You understand?
Okay. Member Clark, did you have...
You see, Madam Chairman, and I understand my colleague being one in the retirement zone. But we must pay attention that all, sorry? You mean, no, but anybody that reaches stage of retirement is somebody that you have to hold honorable. We did.
Come on, they're not in the parliament.
We did. But anyway, madam, and I meant it in no disrespectful way. Because it is always an honor to be old.
Sorry, no, give him an opportunity to apologize for calling the two previous members' names. Let him apologize. It's worth an apology. We said we moved along from that thing, man. And I know you have great respect for both of them.
They're my friends.
Yes, exactly. Members, let's get back. Member Clark, go ahead.
So
we can wrap up.
The gist of it, Madam Chair, is that many of us are members of other committees. And whilst it is good that we could have two committees having meetings at the same time, simultaneously, we must also be reminded of the membership of each committee. That's all I want to say. Thanks.
Thank you, members. I've noted, what all have your input. And again, I think every committee meeting is important. And, we can't put a timeline on committee meetings to say we're going to meet for maybe an hour and a half, because it depends on what we're discussing. And so I've taken note of everything that was said to move forward. And, I think what we can do now is to possibly decide not to mention how frequent we may meet, because we won't know how frequent we meet depending on what is happening internationally and what is happening locally. So, however, what we can do now is to possibly choose a topic for the next meeting, and possibly a date for the next meeting. I know we're going on break, and I know all of us are very, we're looking forward to that. And I think a lot of us had graduations last week and the week before. And so we've been in the parliament since January, and I think everybody's looking forward to the summer break. So any dates possibly we can look at now, or what do we do? Any suggestions and also suggestions for a topic to be discussed?
Here, which are of interest, Madam Chair. As you know, in the region, there is some disquiet as it relates to Venezuela, and as you know, Jamaica has had an energy arrangement with Venezuela. Things have changed in Venezuela in recent times. The question is how those developments, recent developments, are impacting on us or can impact on us. And those are areas I think is worthy of consideration and exploration. There is some also relationship with Cuba also, with the instability in the area where we are, and no doubt those will have impact on Jamaica. So the Ministry of Foreign Affairs coming and giving us a perspective and assessment, I think would be useful for the committee and the country on a whole. So those are two. Another one on the foreign affairs side, I think we could look at, and we do have the Jamaica's parliamentary representative to the ACP-EU Joint Assembly here, and hold a senior position there, could, together with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. As you know, the Samoa, which forerunner being the Lomé Convention, is essentially a trade and development agreement that impacts Jamaica. There have been recent changes in the arrangements in the new successor agreement named the Samoa agreement, how those are impacted on Jamaica, what are the opportunities that are existing for Jamaican businesses and export possibilities. Those can have significant economic and developmental dimensions to it. It would be useful to have some insights, bearing in mind that the deliberations here serve to inform the greater public about some of these possibilities that we can benefit from. On the internal affairs side, I want to put on the table for consideration recently there was a Integrity Commission report on the FLA, right? It has been tabled in Parliament as the Oversight Committee for Security. I think it will be worthy for us to have some discussion in the committee and the relevant agencies so that anything that can be fleshed out, that can be done. What is done from time to time is to invite the Commissioner of Police to give an update, sort of status report on the JCF and the security arrangement in the country, and allow for questions and concerns to be raised with the Commission and the JCF. And the same would apply to for the correctional services. Regrettably, Madam Chair, the correctional services is kind of like a quiet, and you will know that in the eyes of the public, is not in your face, but given that persons who are incarcerated, except those on death penalty, they will be rejoining the society when their term expires in incarceration. It is important, I believe, to have a sense of, for example, rehabilitation. And exactly, that impacts the country on a whole. So it would be useful to have a presentation from the correctional service too in those areas. So those are some of the areas which I think we can develop an agenda of activities around.
You know, I knew that Member Jackson, my MP, would make some good recommendations. Any other recommendations from the members? I hear some good ones here. I have an interest with the correctional services, and since Member Jackson said it's quiet, I beg to differ. Well, I mean, we are in correction, so you have to keep some things quiet. However, there's lots going on in rehabilitation and reintegration. Also, we have been doing a good job as a country getting our murder rates down. And we did excellent, I believe, last year. We're on a good trajectory now. And so to get an update from the Commissioner of Police, I think, and the security arrangement for Jamaica, which entails a number of things that would also, I think Jamaicans will appreciate that. The energy crisis, a Samoa agreement. And so I think maybe I don't want to be biased, but the correctional services, I think they've not been in the limelight, and a number of things have been happening in reintegration and rehabilitation. Actually, tomorrow, Member Jackson, it's not in your constituency, not your section, but we're actually opening another parole office in the Portmore area. And so we're doing quite a number of things in reintegrating persons, as you say, the population of inmates into society. So, Member Russell?
Yeah, I think those are some good suggestions. I want to add two. The first one, and depending on how we want to start, we must admit that there's been significant changes in the global, I guess, the rules that govern relations among countries globally. And so the extent to which our foreign policy, our position on some of these issues has changed, is consistent with what's in the best interest of the country. It would be useful to have a broader conversation. Because now we're hearing discussions even about new financing arrangements, just in order to survive what is happening with the global the changes globally, and especially with the positioning of our neighbors to the north. So that broader foreign policy conversation would be useful. Secondly, it has to do with immigration and the movement of people, the movement of our people in and out, and the fact that we have significant numbers of our trained and educated personnel who move to other jurisdictions, other countries. A conversation with PICA, I think, would be useful, and that could also link to a broader diaspora-related discussion as well. So those are the two additional suggestions which I would make.
Okay, thank you, members.
Yes, Madam Chair. So certainly I endorse, drilling down further into some of the national security developments specific to the correctional space, and also, of course, the police and the broader security space there, given the reductions in murders and major crimes, and really digging into some of the initiatives that are, causing this tremendous level of success, and what more support would be required to ensure that we have even more success in coming months and years. The second matter, of course, relates to, some of our international agreements, foreign policy initiatives. We get consumed with North America and Europe so much. I really want to know what's going on with I've seen where Minister Johnson Smith was in Ghana recently. And I would love to know what we're doing in West Africa with our engagements with Nigeria, Ghana, countries like that. And beyond that also, our engagements in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, and so on, as we continue to live in this multipolar world. I think it's important to know what our foreign policy is and what our focus is going forward in better engaging these spaces globally. Thank you.
Thank you, Member. Member Terry Long.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Again, just to add to what Member Severite has indicated, when we look at internal and external affairs, I much prefer a broader view as well, because we have to think of internal and external affairs within the context of Jamaica pushing for greater economic development, economic independence, and certainly resilience against weather extremes, alongside modernizing our education features as well, because all of this inevitably impact how we're able to navigate Jamaica as a whole, and when we look towards building a sustainable future where all Jamaicans can thrive. So yes, we have a very capable team at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, and the truth is, your ordinary Jamaican does not make the connection between when the Ministry of Foreign Affairs goes out there and we're meeting with our global partners. We have our bilateral arrangements, we have our multilateral arrangements as well. We have arrangements within CARICOM, we have arrangements within, again, the Latin America, framework. So it would be good to get the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade here to discuss some of these arrangements and how they impact ordinary Jamaicans. So, for example, if you look at climate resilience and agriculture and food security, again, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, if you look at in the past our bilateral relations with Morocco, you would have had, several tons of fertilizer coming to Jamaica that we're able to distribute to farmers, etc. When you look at our relations with China, and we're now looking at the completion of what will be named the Portia Simpson Miller Hospital for children out in Montego Bay, the west of the island. When you look at our relationships with countries like Japan and providing speedboats to help boost our coast guards and what they can do. And these are just examples. When you look at our relationships with the European Union, the United States, and so forth, and how these impact on our national security. So recently we saw a report that named Jamaica the most peaceful country in the Caribbean and the third most peaceful country within the Americas generally. And I think this is phenomenal, and this should be, little children in school should be singing I live in a peaceful country, or I live in a country that is now being deemed the most peaceful in the region, and in the Caribbean region, and the third most peaceful within the Americas. I think it is, I honestly believe it is something that every little child should be singing from their lips, because in the days when, you know, again, when you look at international peace and security, when you look at Jamaica standing globally, you know, Jamaica used to be at the top of every single, the most horrible, the most this, the most that, and those days have long gone. But there was a strategic mechanism over the last decade that has now led to all these successes. And much of that also includes the work that we do with our international partners. So I think it would give the Parliament a different lift as well. It would give Jamaica greater insight into the work being done by Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. I believe one member spoke about immigration. Again, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. If you want to speak about economy and tariffs, you know, how does Jamaica is better able to negotiate tariffs across the world? You know, goods and services, the movement. How do we get Jamaican brands across Europe, across America? We're now going into West Africa. You know, Ghana. We have great relationship. There's a trade mission that is going to Ghana very soon. So. So again, no, and I'm glad Member Jackson is making those utterances, because it shows the dynamism of diplomacy and foreign affairs and foreign trade within Jamaica. And I believe every single Jamaican household should understand that the very goods and services that you use on a day-to-day basis, it is rooted in foreign affairs and foreign trade. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Terry Long. I see we have a very good energy for this Internal External Affairs Committee, and I'm sure all of us will bring that energy to the fore. But you made some very good points. We saw where the Diaspora Conference brought out so many things, as far as you mentioned about agriculture, and a lot of people would not have linked, you know, that with foreign affairs and the diplomatic relations that we have with other countries. We talk about peace and security, and foreign affairs have a lot to do with that. We've now included peace into the Ministry of National Security and Peace, and with the reduction of, so this all comes back together with the reduction of crime in Jamaica. This all intertwines with what it is that we're trying to do. And so I guess we have a number of things that we could discuss. Would narrow that down, I guess. It's hard for me to narrow down as to what exactly and who we would bring to the next meeting. But, you know, again, as I said, foreign affairs and the global partners that we have and the internal peace and security aspect, I think that would be quite interesting because it overlaps many different things with, as you said, the partnerships that we have. We have MOUs signed with Ghana now, with the nurses and doctors coming to Jamaica. And so those are things that we can look at as to how that's affecting Jamaica to be, you know, more economically viable, and also to bring more peace and stability to the country. And so I guess we will stick with that one, and then we can look at corrections possibly for the next. And as Member Jackson said, for the Commissioner of Police to come in and give a report, especially by that time, we would be nearing the Christmas season to see where we are and to give a report on that. So we could look at those three topics. Again, foreign affairs for the first one, corrections or with the arrangement in Jamaica with Commissioner of Police and Security. We could look at those after. Member?
The purpose of the ministry staff would have to be a bit more specific in terms of the areas we want them to come prepare on. I had suggested, for example, Venezuela and Cuba. Is it those and whatever else that they could roll into there, just so they are prepared. They are able to be prepared for what we'll be discussing with them.
if I could recommend, we take it. You know, I'm so happy that the public did not hear Member Jackson just now. All right, very well. Mr. Chairman, sorry, Madam Chairman and Mr. Jackson and members of the committee, I would recommend we take it from the different angle. If we're looking at, so ultimately, Member Jackson had recommended the internal security aspect and looking at corrections and including the Commission of Police and so forth and the work that they're doing. So what we could do in terms of foreign affairs and foreign trade, we could take it from looking at some of our external agreements that look at peace cooperation with Jamaica. So if you look at, for example, as I mentioned some of them, for example, the speedboats from Japan and so forth, coordination with the US, etc. Some of these things would not be able to, there's an extent to which we could discuss them because again, there are some matters that are high level national security that cannot be discussed. But just in terms of looking at the bilateral relations and how they assist with peace and security generally in Jamaica, and then even the trade arrangements and how the trade arrangements impact our economic productivity and the sort of bilateral assistance and multilateral assistance that we do get. Also looking at some of the different committees that Jamaica is a part of. Because again, your ordinary Jamaican is not aware that we have Jamaicans leading several global committees that make very, very important decisions that filter down at the national level as well. So it is broad-based in that regard, but you could start with your bilateral and multilateral departments and then looking at some of the work that they're doing for the benefit of Jamaicans. So a global perspective, but it literally affects you within your household right here in Jamaica. And the team across the world representing Jamaica from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, they are doing a phenomenal job worldwide.
Member Russell. Member Russell.
I guess I'm struggling with the question of how, because we're saying we want to make it more targeted, but at the same time, what the member is suggesting, Member Terrelong, is also broadening it. I do think and agree that a focus on an aspect, so in the member's presentation, he speaks to the peace-related agreements which we have. And that generally is fine, but the representatives of the ministry whom we ask to come should be prepared to deal broadly, right, with the issues that are related. But we should also use the opportunity to bring others, because as the TOR suggests, we can cause others to come. So should we also invite members of academia who can provide a critical perspective on where we are, on whatever it is we decide to focus the next session on. The other aspect, and not to do what Member Terrelong was doing, which is to go all over the place and broaden the issue, but we also should look at our reporting on our treaty obligations if we are inviting foreign affairs to come in. And again, maybe it could be focused only on those, if we're speaking about peace and security, then we could focus on those which are those treaties which have implications there. So those are my two additional thoughts on this.
Okay, love this. All right, so I think what I would want us to focus on is, as mentioned by everyone, is really the peace and security aspect of what is happening, the bilateral and multilateral agreements that's out there as far as foreign affairs is concerned. So I think what we will do is narrow it down to that. Yes, member, you mentioned the TOR, who can be invited. But I think initially I would possibly want us to just focus on personnel from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to be here. And then if it is that we want to continue the conversation, we can then ask to invite others to be present at subsequent meeting. And so I think we would have decided what we will discuss and who we would have for our first meeting. Member Jackson,
with foreign affairs as the start, but I'm a bit uneasy with the narrowing down to just the security and peace agreements, arrangement, because let's face it, we just had a major hurricane last year, right? From all of the data, the economy has taken a blow, right? Economic revitalization must be central in everything we do, and security is, but I don't want one to the exclusion of others. So I really believe that those trade arrangements and the opportunities, right? When you look at the data, we have a decrease in export and an increase in import. We are sinking very fast, and the only way to rescue that is for more economic activities where trade arrangements provide some opportunities. The Minister from Industry and Commerce will agree with me 200%. So it must be.
I doubt if we would agree with you that we're sinking fast. I would also not agree with that. But I do understand, Member Jackson, and I agree with you that we can actually, but again, what we said was, how often will we have these meetings, right? And so if it is that we focus on peace, the peace and security area, subsequent to that, we can have a follow-up or include the trade aspect in that same meeting. We could actually do all of that in the same meeting by mentioning what is happening when it comes to trade, what was happening with our economy and how that's affecting trade is affecting our economy. And so, Member Jackson, I'm in agreement with you, and I think what we can do is to add that aspect of it to speak about in the next meeting. So it'd be trade, peace and security and trade. So that we'll be able to, a quick follow-up, go ahead.
No, I believe I have the mic before him, Madam Chair. Yes, thank you. Again, just to indicate that I like that Member Jackson has in fact adopted my suggestions and agreed with me that the trade aspect in terms of global cooperation is important. So I'm not quite sure why Member I'm not sure why Member Russell, in a very circuitous way, thought that he was bringing a lampshade into the Parliament about round and all these kind of things. But it is important, Madam Chair, because they're so intrinsic to our economic growth and development. And as I indicated, it is our global trade relations. It is relations that we have with other countries across the world that ultimately affect our daily lives and the lives of every single household in the country, and it's important for the ministry to look at it beyond peace and security, but also to encapsulate the sort of the economic cooperation and economic diplomacy that we have with these countries as well, that serve our country in a very productive way.
Okay.
Aye, Chairman. I see where we're going. We're heading on a road, Chairman. This is a meeting for procedural matters. But, Chairman, for clarity of the record, it is important because I heard Member Jackson say that we're sinking. He said something that is not true. And we need to correct the record. Jamaica has always had a trade deficit, right? We have always imported more than we export. But last year, we had a massive hurricane. So obviously, in the months after, we'll be importing more than we're able to produce. He knows this. So for him to come here and say we are sinking lower and lower and lower, it is a reckless statement, and it ought not to have been said, Chairman.
Noted.
I think as a committee, when, the cause of something, you must separate the cause from what the reality is. We do have an increased trade deficit. That's a fact. And what you're explaining is the cause of it, which we also accept. That's a contributor to it. But it doesn't make his point any less. what this is also saying, Madam Chair, is that we have a lot to talk about, right? And to your question, I would suggest that the meetings are every 2 weeks to start, because we do have some catching up to do. And no, this is the people's work. What more important do you have?
All right, thank you, members. Again, let me just remind everyone that this first meeting, we're going to be wrapping up now, was really for procedural matters, just to explain what some of the things that we will be discussing. Do we have any other business? Okay, no. So can we set the date for the next meeting? The date for the next meeting?
Usually, we want to give the ministries or agencies about a 2-week lead time. So I believe if we could get one in before, we'll be breaking for the summer later in this month. If we could have the first one before we break, and then we resume when we come back in September or thereabout.
Do we have any dates that we're looking at?
At least 2 weeks away.
We have July 22 at 2 p.m. No, we can't do at 2 p.m. because 2 p.m. What date is that? A Tuesday?
No, that's a Wednesday.
That's a Wednesday at 2 p.m.
21st at 10?
Do we have any other dates?
September.
The 29th. Are we going to be here? I'm sure we're going to be on break by that time. So
21st.
we don't have any dates. So should we just look at possibly when we return in September? I think that's the best thing to do. We can look at maybe the first week upon our return in the Parliament.
It's good to give the agency some dates to
Yes.
work around.
I think once we settle to say the first week, we will be able to send those out to the agencies, allow them time.
But bear in mind, too, when the Parliament resumes, it doesn't exclude the committees meeting. Because even in the summer, committees meet. I remember 3 years ago, committees were meeting like hell during the summer to make Portmore Parish.
Remember, I think the members here will possibly need a break. So I think we need to just look at September. So we could, would we then just maybe wait and then send something out? Since we already decided that we would look at September to resume. And then we'll make sure we give time to the agencies, to the ministries, that they will have that time to prepare.
Sorry, go ahead.
Madam Chair, just given the fact that this is our first meeting, and for the reasons you gave at the beginning as to why we are just meeting, and the comments from some of the other members, suggesting that they have more important matters or competing matters to which they give preference. I am suggesting that we do push, because these issues are critical and it seems as if the other members have some good news which they want to share, including to make some of the achievements into song. And if that's the case, why are we pushing back to September? Why don't we try to find a time before the break? Because
there is a time.
Okay,
there's always time.
Okay, member, we can look at the 29th at 10 a.m.
Is it on the schedule free? You have to check.
Oh, we don't.
Madam Chairman.
It's on the schedule. There is no other date for July, member. And so even we do want to, and again, as you said, this is our first meeting, and it was really supposed to be on procedural matters and to set a date for the next meeting.
Yes.
And while we understand that there are, things of national importance that we want to discuss and discuss them now, since we just had our first sitting, we are going into the summer break, unfortunately. So there are no other dates that's on the calendar.
So committees are meeting all through the rest of the month? The committees are meeting in all those days?
Right, there are others, but we do not have any other date except for the 29th at 10 a.m.
So I'm saying, what day of the week is the 29th? What day of the week?
Is that? That's a Wednesday.
Yeah, so we can tentatively set it for the Wednesday.
Okay, so we'll tentatively set it for Wednesday.
The 29th.
Just so that's not a good day for the committee members?
Madam Chair, some of us take our work very, very serious.
What about, is that enough time, the 29th,
Some
enough
don't.
time?
Chair.
Can,
You know, that's when one is power drunk, you know. You get statements like those.
well, we're having we're having conflicts here. So I think the 29th persons are not in agreement because I believe Parliament will be on break at that time. And so I think what we need to do, again, as I said, is to reserve for a date in September when we return.
Okay. I just want to make one closing comment, Madam. And I really invite members to take it seriously. One of the purpose of the committees is to highlight challenges in the various areas of the portfolios with a view to have them address, resolve, and the country can benefit from those resolutions. It is not so much a place to come and celebrate.
Member,
it is to search for a solution.
we're looking at the 21st, members, the 21st in the afternoon. There is a committee meeting at 10 o'clock, ethics. So we could look at the 21st of July for the first meeting. Okay? So that will be the date that's set. And so if there's no other... So are we going to take a vote? We're noting that for the 21st, I think we'll still be in the Parliament, tentatively. 12. Yes. Okay, if there's no other business, I believe that we're going to be having very vibrant discussion in this committee meeting. Thanks for everyone that's coming. Do we move? Go ahead.
Moving for the adjournment, Chairman.
Seconded by? Seconded by Dr. Russell. All right. Thanks for coming, and I guess I'll see everyone this afternoon at 2 p.m. Thank you.
As Minister of Justice, I appeal to you, obey the road code, pay your ticket on time, and only go to court if the ticket is being contested. Close to 80% of matters coming to the parish courts are for traffic breaches. Let's work together to make our roads safe and ease the burden on our courts.
In a world full of noise, it's easy to miss what really matters. That's why we're here. Why it matters. Discussions that break down the issues you didn't know you needed to know. The stories overshadowed, the facts you were never told, and the topics too important to ignore. Credible, clear, connected to your life. If you've ever wondered what's really going on and why should you care, this is the show for you. Why it matters. Because understanding the world, our world, starts with asking the right questions and getting the answers from the right people. Why it matters. Only on PBCJ, the People's Station.
Join the conversation focusing on Jamaica's development. Tune in to the post-cabinet press briefings, Wednesdays live at 9 a.m. with a rebroadcast at 9 p.m. right here on PBCJ, the People's Station.
Cook it up and make we steam it. Fresh so me need it, tilapia a real fish. Cook it up and make we roast it. Farm fresh so me need it, tilapia a real fish. Grow smart at the best part. Food for thought so me have to eat smart. Easy catch, full in it. A tilapia so you don't know what's next. Cook it up and make we fry it. Fresh so me need it, tilapia a real fish. Bring home the best in freshwater fish. High content of vitamin B3, protein and potassium. Tilapia, simple, healthy, delicious.
Na 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 na. We want a piece for Jamaica. Yeah, yeah. We have to be our brother's keeper. Yeah, yeah. Jamaica live good, yeah. I make we enjoy life. What we feel safe at night. Jamaica live good. I better you and I. No say we future bright. Jamaica live good. Come together as one. I make the violence the war. Something it come back. Back to sender.
Miracles await and miracles abound. Tune in every Sunday at 7 a.m. for your